Can we really retire in Singapore when it's ranked one of the most expensive cities to live in the world? According to a recent report, Singapore has now climbed to the 4th most expensive city globally for expats. The biggest driver is actually housing costs. So rents have surged faster, fueled by strong foreign demand and limited supply. Usually when people see this, they'll be, if this continues, I need to work forever. So while headlines like this may cause concern, but they don't actually tell the full story. But here's the thing, for locals, Singapore actually ranks 28 worldwide, largely because of factors like CPF housing support, government subsidies and local ownership schemes that help manage living and housing costs better than what expats typically face. Also, with news like this, more than $172 million HDBs sold in a single month. It's hard not to take notice. While such headlines grab attention, they also raise serious questions about long-term housing affordability. For parents, when they see this news, they must be thinking, I better work hard and start saving. If not, my kids no need to buy a house already. For those planning their retirement around property assets, these record-breaking prices highlight how Singapore's housing landscape is evolving, and they serve as a reminder that retirement planning today must account for rising property costs and shifting entry points in the market. Before we jump in, if you like contents like this, do help us like, share and subscribe. This will definitely help me a lot. Thank you very much. Today, I'm not going to dive into whether prices will keep climbing or why we should just accept the market price, because that's a super macro discussion with tons of numbers behind it. What I want to focus today is something much simpler and more practical. So the question is, how much we need to retire comfortably in Singapore? And most importantly, how can we achieve it through the properties we own? In the context of the safe method, today we're going to run through something called the property roadmap, a structured way to plan your journey towards financial freedom and a sustainable retirement, one property move at a time. Alright, here's what we're going to cover today. First, how much do we actually need to retire comfortably in Singapore based on different lifestyles and expectations? Second, how can we achieve that through the safe method, specifically using what I call the property roadmap to plan our steps strategically? And finally, what you can do right now as a property owner to move closer to financial freedom and long-term stability. So how much is enough? Probably one of the biggest questions in life. For many people I've met, the most common mindset is 走一步看一步, which means you take one step at a time while buying houses. And honestly, that's how most of us live. But after being in the real estate industry for more than a decade, I've noticed one very clear difference between property owners who actually move ahead confidently and those who get stuck. It actually all comes to forward planning. So every time I meet someone who tells me I'm not sure what to do next, I know the real issue isn't about the market outlook or market concern or sentiment. It's just that they don't have a clear end goal in mind. And in this context, the end goal is simple yet life-changing. How much do we need to actually retire? If you have read the recent article, Is $1 million enough for retirement? You will know there's no magic number. So the writer actually shared a point that really stood out. It's not just about the amount you have, but the financial habits and structure you build around it. Because 1 million today doesn't guarantee a comfortable 20-year retirement, especially with inflation and lifestyle changes. What really matters is how your money works for you through CPF, life payouts, property income, and investments that grow over time. So let's put some numbers to this. Based on most studies and retirement surveys in Singapore, the average cost to retire comfortably ranges between 2,000 to 6,000 per month, depending on your lifestyle. A simple lifestyle having hawker meals, public transport, basic healthcare might need around 2 to 2.5k a month. A comfortable lifestyle like eating out occasionally, small holidays, some leisure stuff is closer to 3.5 to 4k per month. And for those who want a more free and flexible lifestyle, travel with car, regular entertainment, that can go up to 5 to 6k monthly. So let's use the higher range of each lifestyle bracket, because with rising inflation, higher medical costs and lifestyle expectations shifting over time, it's always smarter to plan a little higher than to underestimate. So instead of a lower estimate, we'll use 2.5k for a simple lifestyle, 4k for a comfortable lifestyle and 6k for a flexible lifestyle. And we will project these over 20 years of retirement from the age 65 to 85 years old. So this is a calculation for one pack. So the formula will be monthly times 12 months and times 20 years. So for a simple lifestyle will be 2.5k monthly, 30k yearly and 600,000 for 20 years. Comfortable lifestyle 4k per month, 48k yearly and then 960,000 for 20 years. For flexible and a better lifestyle, I'll say it will be 6k per month, 72k a year and 1.44 mil for 20 year total. So this is a calculation for 2 packs. The formula is the same. For simple lifestyle, 5k combined monthly, 60k annual and then 20 years will be 1.2 million. And for comfortable lifestyle, 8k per month, 96k per year and then 1.92 million for 20 years. For flexible lifestyle will be 12k per month, 144,000 per year and then 2.88 million for 20 years. But the calculation doesn't stop here, because while all those figures cover your monthly living expenses, they don't include one of the biggest part of retirement, which is your home. And let's be real, having a fully paid up property in Singapore as part of your retirement plan is almost every Singaporean's dream. So we have just seen a 3-room flat in Bidadari sold for around 930,000. So setting aside 1 million for a retirement home is only fair and frankly conservative. With inflation and construction costs rising, we might even need more in the years ahead. So this is the calculation for 1 pax. For simple lifestyle, living cost for 20 years will be 600,000 plus $1 million will be 1.6 million retirement fund needed. For comfortable lifestyle, 20 years living cost will be 960,000 plus $1 million home, it will be 1.96 million needed. For a flexible lifestyle, a living cost of 20 years will be 1.44 million plus $1 million for a retirement home, your total retirement fund needed will be 2.44 million. Now for the 2 pax calculation, for simple lifestyle, a living cost of 20 years will be 1.2 million plus $1 million home, total retirement fund needed will be 2.2 million. For comfortable lifestyle, living cost of 20 years will be 1.92 million plus $1 million retirement home, total retirement fund needed will be 2.92 million. For flexible lifestyle, living cost of 20 years will be 2.88 million plus $1 million retirement home, your total retirement fund needed will be 3.88 million. But please take note, these numbers are based on today's value and they do not include any spending of your kids, parents for medical, emergencies or overseas travel. So if you are factoring those in, your retirement need could easily be 10 to 20% higher than this estimate. Alright, commercial break. If currently now you're thinking, wow, so many numbers, it's so hard to digest, don't worry, reach out to me immediately now through WhatsApp. I'll run through your numbers and explain this to you personally. Hey, seriously, you can pause this video and start messaging me now. Now that we have done the calculation, let's take a look at 2 retirement case studies. Assuming that in both case study, property fully paid off by age 65, because banks typically lend up to age 65, only some extensions to 75 but pretty rare. And all amounts here are rounded up for simplicity and exclude taxes or selling costs. So for this first example, imagine you have held on to your HDB or private property worth 1 million all the way to age 65. You decide to right size to another $1 million home, perhaps a newer flat or smaller condo. In this case, the numbers are flat. Sell 1 million, buy 1 million, and you have left with $0 cash from this transition. Your retirement plan then depends entirely on your CPF saving or whatever cash you have built over the years. Now compare that with someone who has spent the last 20-30 years consolidating and growing their property portfolio, building an asset base worth 3.5 million. When they right size to a $1 million retirement home, they free up 2.5 million in value. This actually allows flexibility for investment, healthcare, or simply a more comfortable retirement. So through this, you can actually see the impact of asset planning. The earlier you start building, the earlier you start restructuring your portfolio, you can have it easier at the end of your property roadmap. Now that we are clear with calculations, we need to know how many cycles are you left with. So if you own or buy a HDB, you will have a 5-year MOP, or we call it a minimum occupation period. For private property, it will be a 4-year seller's stamp duty, we call it SSD. So simplify, we'll use 5 years as the average holding period per cycle or transition. So for example, if you are 35 years old today and your property roadmap ends at 65, that gives you 30 years to work with. So the calculation will be 65 minus 35 years equal 30 years. 30 years divided by 5 years equals 6 property cycles. So this means you potentially have 6 full property cycles, meaning 6 major opportunities to buy, upgrade, restructure or right size your assets before retirement. So from this illustration, you can see that if you are age 35, holding period about 5 years average, you have about 6 cycles. For 40-year-old, you have about 5 cycles. For 45 years old, you have about 4 cycles. So each cycle represents a window of opportunity. So the earlier you start planning, the more cycles you can leverage, which means more flexibility, more options, and ultimately a stronger financial position when you retire. And lastly, here are some quick tips to help you start planning for a property roadmap. Firstly, you need to know your end goal. Start with clarity. What's your retirement figure or end goal? This gives every property move direction, whether you're buying for a first home or restructuring your current one. Assess your current position. Understand your existing assets, liabilities, and available funds. Calculate your next affordability by factoring income, CPF usage, loan eligibility, and cash reserves. Plan your next move strategically. Identify the type of property that helps you move closer to your end goal, whether it's upgrading for capital growth or right sizing for stability. Try to find a balance between lifestyle and long-term appreciation in capital. Work out the capital path. Determine how much capital and income you'll need to reach your end goal. Model different scenarios, how much equity to build, when to refinance, and when to hold or exit. Like what I mentioned earlier, count your property cycles. Each property you own or purchase is one cycle in your roadmap. Based on your age, loan tenure, and market conditions, calculate how many property cycles you still have ahead. This helps to ensure that every property move counts towards your end goal. Last but not least, review and realign regularly. So property plans evolves with life stages, income changes, family growth or market shift. Revisit your roadmap every few years to keep it aligned to your end goal. And I always say this when I meet a new client, if you have a partner, do not do this planning alone. Sit down together, run through these steps. It's very important that every property move is done with alignment, and most importantly, every sale and purchase must be done happily. Thanks for watching, and I hope that through watching this video, you have a clearer picture on how your property roadmap might look like. And of course, if you like contents like this, please help me like, share and subscribe. And most importantly, if you like what I'm doing here and you wish to get your property roadmap planning up to speed, WhatsApp me and let's go through this together. See you in the next video. Bye.